Hi, and welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game. I'm Dean Gemmel, and with stock markets tanking and banks teetering, I realize this is hardly the time to ask people to separate themselves from any of their money. But The Curling Show is a listener-supported effort, so I hope, like Mike Weiner from town of Mount Royal in Quebec, that you'll visit thecurlingshow.com, go to the Support the Show link in the sidebar, and make a donation to this podcast. Now, on to this edition. The winner at last week's Twin Anchors Houseboat Cashspiel in Vernon, the winner of last season's Bear Mountain Arena Classic in Victoria, and the man in the house for BC at the 2008 Tim Hortons Brier, Bob Ursel. Welcome back to The Curling Show.
Thanks, Dean.
Well, first, Bob, I got to thank you. You're one of the first guests on this show way back in 2005, an early guest. I want to thank you for your early support of this effort. But 3 years later, you come off a weekend at the Twin Anchors Houseboat Spiel, probably more of a B-list than an A-list field, but still, if we consider how your team finished there, the solid run at last year's Brier, and the win at the Bear Mountain Arena Classic, it's starting to look like your team's on a bit of a roll. How confident are you starting to be on the ice?
Oh, I think, the way we finished off last year, we picked up a lot of confidence. The team is, the team's playing extremely well. Not a lot of mistakes out there, and it's a great feeling.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say there's a big three in Canadian curling right now, Martin, Howard, and Cooey, and then another group that's right behind them that includes teams like Madaw, Simmons, Furby, Stoughton, maybe Gushu, Burtnick, and definitely now I think your team. Do you think this year will be a year when we might see one of those teams in that second group, maybe your team, break through a bit against the big three?
Well, it'd be nice to see. I definitely agree with you in your analysis of the teams there. I think the big three are the big three for a reason, and the rest of us are trying to catch up to them. But, we're not playing a lot, Dean. We're only playing in 6 events this year, and so it's going to be tough for us to break through in a big way as far as PTRS points go. Our goal this year is to get enough points to qualify us for the pre-trials, and we'll be happy with that.
You guys, you've never been a team that plays a big schedule, and I was wondering if you're going to maybe ramp it up a bit this year, but I know you have a lot of family job commitments that make it tough.
Yeah, we are boosting it up a little bit this year to 6.
6 is a boost, is it?
I think last year we played in 4 before Christmas. So, we're doing 6 before Christmas this year, and so hopefully it's enough. We really want to get, our goal is to get to Prince George and get to the pre-trials, and, I'm hoping that the 6 events is enough for us. We'll see how it goes.
Well, you picked up 15 points last weekend, I guess, but, thinking about these pre-trials, and that's your goal, and you guys are certainly in a pretty good position to get to that now. Have you ever started to think, though, when you think about the way the pre-trials are, that it might actually be a bit of an advantage for a team that qualifies for the trials if they came out of the pre-trials? In other words, they go through a bit of a meat grinder before they get to Edmonton.
Well, I don't think it's gonna hurt you. I don't think that competition's gonna hurt anybody. And it may be a good staging for the trials. I think it's a month before the trials, something like that.
Yeah.
It might be a real good staging.
Especially a team like yours that doesn't, get to play a big schedule. You get an event like that. If you do get through it, you're probably in better shape for the trials. And I think on the flip side, you might be thinking, if we can't get one of the 4 spots out of 12 teams, then we probably won't do anything at the trials anyway.
Well, you're bang on there. You gotta start. You gotta bring your A game to Prince George, and because that's going to be a hell of a field. And come through that, I think you're going to be, on a bit of a roll. So might be to your advantage going through that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how teams come out of that. Hey, when I talked to you back in 2005, you were looking back at a few years spent playing third for Pat Ryan, and you talked about the fact that you liked having last rock in your hand. Now you're calling the game, of course, but Jim Cotter throws last brick. Did you come to realize that it was plotting the game from the rings that you really enjoyed, or are you just that confident in Jim Cotter?
Well, I really enjoy calling the game. I think that's probably my first love is calling the game. And I hurt my knee a couple of years ago in our playdowns, and I wasn't playing that great. And I said to Jimmy, I said, "Well, I think we got a better shot right now if you're throwing the hammer." And it just worked out that way. We both enjoyed it, and I've got all the confidence in the world in Cotter. I mean, he's a phenomenal shooter, and so I got no problem with the lineup. I think we're a really strong team this way.
So you guys actually didn't start that way. I thought you had, but you didn't start that way.
No, I started off throwing the brick, and at the end of our first year, like I said, I hurt my knee, and I wasn't at my best. So I asked Jim to throw the brick, and it turned out great. I mean, I think the format is actually kind of nice. It frees up both players a little bit, I think. It frees me up as far as having to think about throwing the last rock when I'm thinking about calling the game. And the same thing for Jim. I think he can just concentrate on making those last shots instead of the calling of the game. So I think it kind of frees up both guys to play a bit better.
Yeah, I think if the personalities work, I think there is a real advantage there. And one thing I've thought too is it might actually make the team feel a bit more like everyone's got a hand in the thing versus a skip, doing everything.
Yeah, no, I mean it's obviously proven successful with Furby and others, and I mean we like it. I think it's a great format.
For a team that doesn't play a lot on the ASHM World Curling Tour, like you mentioned, your provincial run is always important for you. And at in Vernon, you knocked off your provincial rival Sean Giel. Now curling with Brent Pierce, you knocked him off twice on your way to the title. A little extra intensity in those games?
Well, yeah, there always is when you're playing against a provincial rival, and we recognize that Sean and his squad are gonna be our main competition, I think, here in the province, along with Macaulay, and so getting a couple wins early is nice. It's a bit of a set the tone, I suppose you could say is the right word. It's nice to get a couple of wins against those guys.
You're in your early 40s. Your teammates, you've got some younger teammates. Jim's a little closer to you in age. Have you guys talked at all about long-range plans with this team?
Not really, Dean. I mean,
not beyond 2010, really.
Not
right?
beyond 2010. I mean, I think it's we've become good friends, the four of us. I really enjoy playing with these guys, but I've talked to Jim a little bit over the course of the last year about after 2010, and I'm looking at maybe even taking a year off, and if not that, then maybe toning it down a bit and for a couple of years and hanging out with family a bit and doing a few other activities.
Could you ever see yourself like Bert Gretzinger playing into your 50s?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I love the game. I think it's a great game, and the nice thing about curling is if you stay in somewhat decent health and shape, you can play well into your 50s. I mean, here in this province, some of our toughest teams are seniors teams.
Talking about that, what about the state of the game in British Columbia? It's that's always been a province where people have a lot of recreational opportunities besides curling. What's the state of the game there right now?
Well, I think it's in trouble, personally. I think I think the high-end curling is strong, but and everything from there on down is struggling. I mean, I've got a couple of sons that are curling and that are having a tough time finding junior teams, even here in a big city of Kelowna. I mean, we've got 100,000 people here, and it's tough to put a competitive junior team together.
And a big club, don't you have there? I mean, it's
yeah, we've got a big club. We've got 12 sheets, and it's a tough go. I mean, here in BC, there's a lot of other activities to get into. There's skiing and you name it, hiking and lakes. So it's in trouble.
Well, that's not good to hear, Bob.
Well, no, it's not.
But it's truthful.
I mean, for a game that I love and grew up with, it's not. And but I think there's got to be some changes. I don't have the answers. I'll tell you that. But it seems to be in trouble.
Well, curling has a lot of challenges right now, facility related, and I think one of the other problems is we've got where the game has been typically strong are in population centers that are dwindling, and not that Kelowna is one of those, but if you look at other places, I mean, you look at the game in Ontario, smaller towns, and where it's done better, and those smaller towns are getting smaller. So, anyways, there's a lot of challenges, I guess, for growing the game, but
I don't think we're going to come up with all the answers here right now.
We were just chatting actually a couple weeks ago about some of the levels, and I think back in the early 80s, our interior championships was well over 100 teams, like 160 to 200 teams. And we're lucky right now to get 40 teams involved in our interior championships.
I mean that's related to the fact that there has been such a separation between the teams like yours and a good club curling team.
Well, I think what's happened is that there's more on the line with curling now, and there's sport funding, there's Olympics funding, there's certainly more money, and so I think you're starting to see players amalgamate even from different regions and create so-called super teams, like you get your Martins and Simmons like that, and extremely tough teams to beat.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk to curling club presidents, you'll hear this lament about the problem of growing the game of the grassroots. But like you said, I mean, the top teams are so much better, I think, than they used to be.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they're phenomenal. I mean, the shooting percentages. We looked at Kennedy last year. I mean, I don't know what it was, but
yeah, it was ridiculous.
Shooting well in the average of well in the 90s. That was unheard of back even just 10 years ago.
I mean, and you look at your own father as a good example. As great a curler as he was, I'm sure when he was playing in Montreal, there was a team that won the club championship at Point Claire that thought they might beat him on a given night.
Yeah, that's the way the game used to be, I think.
Hey, final thing here on curling.ca. They've got a Warren Hansen as a blog. Unfortunately, it's sort of just recycled articles right now. But one of the recycled articles they put on his blog was something he wrote about perfect ice conditions at the highest levels of the game. And it's something I've been thinking about a little bit lately, and I want to get your take on it. He talks about the fact that everywhere you play now, every high level, it's sort of 3.5 feet of curl in every direction, very little curl with big weight, 24-second ice. And he's sort of saying that maybe the conditions have gotten too perfect. I'm not advocating for substandard ice, but I do think there might be room for different kinds of perfect ice so that different events can have different identities. Even the Grand Slam series, the Capital One Grand Slam series, if each event had slightly different ice, might be more interesting for fans. What's your take on the ice conditions at the highest levels right now?
Well, I love it. I personally, I think that's what curling's all about. Being able to get around stuff, and where the rocks are curling and they're moving late, and the percentages are high. I think that's what I like to see. I guess what I'm getting at is you're thinking sort of along the lines of golf, where you're playing in the British Open and the winds and tough greens as compared to going to Augusta kind of thing. Is that where you're getting at?
Yeah, and I don't think it's that extreme in that, because I certainly don't think we want to see bad ice ever or bad rocks, because that's an element of chance, but almost to the case where, some ice makers, some ice technicians might make a slightly different, maybe it curls more to the outside, or maybe it curls even with bigger weight hits, and still, make sure you have a lot of curls so shots can be made, but I think it would give people a little more to talk about each time,
Well, it'd be interesting. I mean, I think the main thing is consistency, Dean. If the ice is consistent and curling.
Right.
Now, whether you had it curling to the outside more than the inside or something like that, I mean, I think you can still have great games and entertaining games. But I'm a big fan of consistent ice across the board and lots of curl.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody, not having any curl would be deadly. But you look at, tennis is probably even a better example, where they play on different surfaces, and some guys do well on one over another. It's just something I think actually the series I'd love to see them consider it with a little bit is the Capital One Grand Slam series, because I think you just otherwise you just have 4 big bonspiels right now for a lot of fans.
Well, I mean, that's interesting. Hey, change the length, change the width.
Oh, well, yeah, they do it. Well, we do have a different width sheet now. I mean, they haven't talked much about that, but I think that WCF sheet actually makes the tick shot easier, but no one mentions that. But anyways.
Stretch out the hog line on one, or...
There you go, yeah.
I don't know what to throw at you on that one, Dean, but...
As long as it's still up to, physical abilities of a curler to throw a good rock, and that you get rewarded for it, I think we could have some different things going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things, but I mean, I still am. I'm a huge fan of the ice they're making right now in the slams. I mean,
It's great. Mark Shirk's ice is great. Yeah.
It's fun to play on, and I look at that, and you know, a lot of the ice. We had great ice in Vernon this week. But I look at a lot of the ice we play on in BC, and you know, I made the comment last year. I'd rather go to a slam and lose 5 games than win some of the Bonspiels out here on the ice that we play on.
Right. That's a good point.
And that's why I play.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And so I'm not trying to say we want to go back to bad ice and 1980 straight Briar ice or anything. But anyways, I don't know. None of that, unfortunately, is going to get more bodies in curling clubs out in BC. But anyways, it's something to talk about.
What have you heard about the 2-man stuff? I mean, there's an interesting angle. I mean, you know, changing the game up a little bit that way, making it faster. I don't know. I heard that I didn't see it myself, but I heard the 2-man World Championships was a blast.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who was there was big on it. The mixed doubles. I don't know. Whenever I've seen it, whenever I've seen it myself, it always seems to be a little empty. But maybe we'll see it at the Continental Cup this year. I guess they'll have it that way. So, okay. I think the game has come a long way, and I just think we maybe have to keep looking at ways to keep tweaking it. It has come a long way at the highest levels, that's for sure. It'd be nice if we could turn that into some grassroots success as well.
I think all of us curlers are wishing the same thing.
Yeah, no, I think everybody's on the same page. And when I bring these things up, I don't mean to criticize. I'm just trying to throw thoughts out there. Hey, Bob, we finished with a run back. I give you a topic, and you give me your thoughts in 1 to 3 words.
Right on. Fire away.
Brent Pierce, fan of the curling show and black pudding.
I got to give you a comment in 3 words?
On Brent Pierce, I know. The guy writes emails with 400 exclamation points in them, so 3 words.
So I can give you 1 word, intense.
There you go, you got it. I think that would do it. From what I know from Brent from his emails, he's intense. The new Jeff Stout and Kevin Park combination.
Looking forward to playing him.
Ryan Fry on Team Gushu.
Surprised the hell out of me.
Team Howard winning the AMJ Van Line Shorty Jenkins Classic without Glenn Howard.
No surprise.
The debates among the candidates for Prime Minister of Canada.
Who cares?
Last night's U.S. presidential debate.
Who cares?
Okanagan wine.
I love it.
And from the Curling Zone forums, the hardest throwers in the men's and women's games.
Oh, God, the hardest throwers?
Yeah, who throws it hardest, men and women?
Well, there's young boys from Manitoba throw it pretty freaking hard. That's Carruthers' team and...
Gunlick's in there.
Yeah, those guys just... I was watching them. I know this isn't 3 words or less, but anyway...
That's all right. I'm liberal with it.
They throw it hard. And as far as the women go, I don't know. Let's say Jennifer Jones.
There you go. But yeah, Gunner there throws it sometimes. You're worried somebody's going to break their foot if they ever got it.
Unbelievable. They're beside us a few games here in Vernon, and they can chuck them.
Yeah. All right, Bob. Hey, I appreciate your time. Oh, before I go, I give everybody a chance to name sponsors if they have them. So is anybody helping you guys out this year?
Oh, Western Land Services, Sharp, Sirius, Prestige Inn. Who else? Of course, Gold Line. Asham's always been great to me. Arnold, he's been fantastic to me for 30 years now.
You still wearing steel slider these days? Or you?
I went to thick Teflon last year.
I noticed that at the Briar, yeah.
Yeah, I went to thick Teflon, and I like it.
Anyone else you can think of?
That's good for now.
All right, Bobby, I appreciate your time. Good luck this weekend in New West.
Right on, Dean. Thanks, eh?
That's Bob Ursel on The Curling Show. And speaking of Bob's, now that golf season is wrapping up, Bob Weeks not only has a new book out, Curling Etc., but he's also back with entries at bobweeksOnCurling.blogspot.com. His take on our game is always an interesting one. Thanks for listening. Here's Black Pudding.
Don't you know it's hard for me to see things that I cannot find? How can I tell if it's a dream or just all in my mind?